Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to school. Today is Tuesday, January 9th, and I'm really sorry that I cannot be there with you. But as you can see, I am still wearing my neck brace. I have to wear it for a couple of more weeks, so I can't be back with you in the classroom until then. But no worries, I'm still able to take you through these lessons just as if I was there with you. As you can see by looking at the blog today we're going to be diving into a new topic when it comes to reading informational articles. We're going to be talking about author's purpose. So here you can see it says today we will continue Unit 2 and we will learn about author's purpose. Last week, and actually the last 2 weeks, we've been really looking at how do we read an informational article? What kind of language and vocabulary do we use? Vocabulary like topic and topic sentence, supporting details, transitional sentences, main idea. And we looked at a couple of articles together. And then last week, we read the Halloween-themed article about Donald Duck, Disney, and the candy manufacturers, and the Peanuts, and how they saved Halloween. And at the end of the week, you guys took an assessment where you had to write your own summary. So now that we've learned kind of how we read an informational article, we are going to be looking at author's purpose, which is really why authors write articles in the first place. So today we are going to be adding a new notebook page. If you look at the Do Now, you can see today, okay, you should be writing the homework down in your agenda. The homework today is that we are going to be completing page 31 in your notebook. You do need to right now make sure that you have 5 different colored pencils, and really you're actually going to need 6. All right, and you're also going to need a glue stick. You are going to need your scissors as well, and something to write with. Now I'll tell you the colors that I used red, orange, green, blue, and purple, and then I also used yellow. So I'm just going to you're going to need some colored pencils. Make sure they're all sharp. Make sure you have your scissors. Make sure you have your glue stick. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down in the blog right now, and you can see in our interactive notebook table of contents, if I scroll to the bottom of it, you can see today we are going to be adding page 31, author's purpose. All right, so here we go. Before we begin, I'm going to read this to you. Authors have a variety of reasons or purposes for writing. As a reader, it is our job to determine what that purpose is, and it will help you to analyze the writing, and it will allow you to make better inferences and conclusions. If you understand why the author has written what they have, you're going to be able to think about that article and be able to make your own thoughts and opinions much better if you can understand why the author wrote it in the first place. Okay, so here are the directions. They're on the blog. I will walk you through them. I want you to remember as well, as we go through these things, you can pause me so that you can color code, then you can pick the video back up. You can rewind me, and you can replay me in case you missed a direction. All right, so the first thing that I need to do is I got to get my ELA folder. So here's my ELA folder, and I am going to take out of my ELA folder my ELA packet, and you're going to need the next 2 pages. The first one is this one. It's got a lot of writing at the top. What we're going to be using is this bottom graphic organizer. So it has this here at the bottom. Take out this page. And then you're also going to need to take out this graphic organizer that says author's purpose, and you can see all these different author's purposes written on this diagram. Take these out. Those are the 2 sheets you're going to need. Now with the rest of my packet, I'm going to take this, make sure I paper clip it back together, and I'm going to put it back in my ELA folder, and I'm going to set it aside. So step 1 here says color code your graphic organizer so that each category is matched by color. See my example. Now, I have included an example of this at the bottom of the page, so you can see my example down here. But I'm going to show you how to do this right now. All right, so I'm going to switch over here to my document camera. All right, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to begin with this page, and I am going to start by color coding. All right, so let's review. On this sheet, you can see that there are 5 different purposes that authors write. So I'm going to grab my red colored pencil. The very first reason that's listed, you can see right here, is one of the reasons that authors write is to persuade. So I've shaded this in. Authors write to persuade. Now, as you're coloring, we're going to look at this definition. The definition says that of this type of writing is the author wants you to do, buy, or believe something. When the author is writing to persuade, the author wants you to do, buy, or believe something. And now that I've color-coded it red on this sheet, I'm now going to take this next graphic organizer, and as you can see, it's blown up really big. But then I find persuade here, and I also color-code this to match. And because we're going to cut this graphic organizer out, it doesn't matter if I color outside the line. So I can do this quickly, shade this in, and persuade is red. So here on this graphic organizer, it is red. And on this graphic organizer, it's also red. Now, it's not so important that you guys match my colors, but feel free to go ahead and match them. What's important is that persuade on this graphic organizer matches persuade on this graphic organizer. So that's the first purpose. One of the reasons authors write is to persuade. Let's look at the next purpose. And again, feel free to pause me if I go too fast and take some time to go ahead and color these in. The second purpose that authors write is they write to inform. They write to inform. You can see I've color-coded this orange. So with my orange colored pencil, shade this in orange. And then on this graphic organizer, you can see right next to persuade, here it is, inform. I've color-coded this to match. This one is colored orange, so this is to inform. So now we have 2 purposes. One purpose is to persuade. The second purpose is to inform. So let's look at the definition. The definition for this purpose says, the author wants to give you information. The author wants to give you information. And I overlooked this last column, which is examples. So let me go back to persuade for a minute. Okay, you've seen a lot of this type of writing. And here are some examples for when authors are writing to persuade. Number 1 is advertisements. Whenever you're watching a commercial on TV, or you're seeing an ad in a magazine, or you're done, or you have to watch a video on YouTube and you see that ad first pops up, these are advertisements. Somebody has to write that advertisement before it ever gets filmed. And advertisements, whether they're in magazines, newspapers, or on television or on the computer, these are written to get you to buy something or to do something or to believe something. Okay, others are persuasive letters, opinions. If I'm writing an opinion about my favorite sports team, my opinion might be that the Yankees are the best baseball team, and I'm writing an opinion, and I'm trying to get you to believe that the Yankees are the best sports team. One that's very popular and that we've seen a lot recently is campaign speeches from President Trump, President-elect Biden. These both people have been putting out campaign speeches, or they've been getting on and they've been doing a lot of public speaking. And this is an example where they are trying to persuade you to do something, specifically to go out and vote for them, which people did back in November. All the campaign speeches were intended to either go out and vote for Trump or vote for Biden. Okay? These are some examples of writing to persuade. Now, the one that we just did here in orange, writing to inform, when the author wants to give you information, that's it. You can see this kind of writing in things like textbooks or nonfiction books, expository essays, biographies, newspaper articles. And this is newspapers, whether they be papers in your hand or whether it be a news website, which is probably what you're more used to. Okay? And so really, newspapers and news is the biggest one that uses this style, writing to inform. We want to know, this is kind of like the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, why, and then 6 is how. So whenever you're reading a newspaper article, usually these are written to inform you about what has happened, when did it happen, why did it happen, who was involved, where did it take place. This is writing to inform. Okay, the third author's purpose on here is writing to entertain. You can see that here. I've picked up my green colored pencil and I've color coded this green. Okay, entertain. And then I've color coded it on this graphic organizer to match. So entertain here is color coded green. Now, as we look at the definition, you see that for this purpose, for this writing, the author wants to amuse you or for you to enjoy the writing. So this is kind of like the stories that we've actually been reading. This is a lot of not informational writing, but narrative writing. Things like fiction stories, poems, songs, plays, jokes, and narrative. When we do this kind of writing, or when authors do that kind of writing, it is writing and they just want you to enjoy it. So think about a person who writes a song and then goes out and makes that song and publishes that song. Your favorite artists, they're writing those songs to entertain you. Now, if you've been paying attention, one thing that you'll notice is that if we look at the first 3 letters, we have P, I, E. It spells pie. So we can see that if we take the first 3 authors' purposes, persuade, inform, entertain, P-I-E, pie. We all like pie. That's one way, an acronym that you can use to help you remember the author's purposes. Moving on, the 4th author's purpose that I want to introduce you to today. And today, that's really all this is. It's an overview. I am introducing you to these 5 different authors' purposes. We're going to spend the entire week learning about author's purpose. All right, so number 4 is to explain. I've chosen to color code this with blue. You guys will then, once you've color coded this one, you will go to this graphic organizer and you will color code explain in blue to match. When I have those both color coded, let's take a look at the definition. For this author's purpose, the author wants to tell you how to do something or how something works. Here are some examples. Instructions, directions, steps, procedures, how-tos, and recipes. Recipes is probably one of the biggest ones that you guys are familiar with. Whenever you have to do some cooking or baking, you follow a recipe. And when authors write recipes, they are explaining how to do something or how something works. The very last author's purpose on here, I color coded with purple. And it is describe. You can see that right there. Describe. So one of the reasons authors write is to describe. Now, continuing with our acronym, we have P-I-E. And here we have E and D. So all together, it's not a great spelling, but it's a spelling of the word pied. Okay? I've been pied. P-I-E with an E-D ending. Pied. And this is, if you can remember P-I-E-E-D, pied, you can remember all 5 of the author's purposes. The last one here is describe. So I've color-coded it purple on this graphic organizer, and on this graphic organizer, I've also color-coded it purple to match. Here's the definition for this author's purpose. When the author writes to describe, the author wants you to visualize or experience a person, place, or thing. And we see this in examples like product descriptions, descriptive essays, and imagery. Okay. Now that we have both of these color-coded, there's one last thing that you need to color code, and I chose to color code my title here in yellow. So this graphic organizer right now is all color coded, and so is this graphic organizer. The next step is that you need to cut these out and glue them into your notebook. So right now you're going to want to pause the video, and you're going to cut this graphic organizer out. You're just going to cut the rectangle out. That's all you need. Then you're going to need to cut out two pieces here. You're going to need to cut out the title, and then you are going to need to cut out around this entire graphic organizer. Take a moment now, cut these out. When you're done cutting them out, you can resume the video. Now that you are done cutting them out, it's time to assemble our notebook page. So you can see at the top of my page, every single notebook page, you need to start with the date. So today is January 19th. We're going to glue in our author's purpose title. That's the new topic for this week, author's purpose. And you are going to make sure you include the page number. This is page 31. Okay, and now, very carefully, you have your two pieces that are cut out. Okay, you're going to see this graphic organizer that has all the definitions and examples. I've glued it into the very bottom of my notebook page. And then for this graphic organizer here, this one, you can see this one's not color-coded. But after I've color-coded it, and cut it out, you have to make some folds. So you're going to be doing some folds along these lines so that when you glue this in, you're gluing down this pentagon, and these tabs and flaps can open up as I'm showing you here. Okay? So these flaps can open up. So take a moment right now, make the folds, okay? Make sure that you can fold it together close, and that's how I do it when I glue it in. I glue it in after it's all folded up, and I glued it in with the point at the top, and so I have persuade, inform, entertain, explain, and describe, and you can see my color coding matches. And again, pause me if you need to pause me to glue that in. And now that this is glued into our notebook, we have taken the time to read the definitions, but we know that we don't learn something just by reading it. If we want to learn something better, we should need to take the time to write it. All right, we remember a lot more of what we write than just of what we've read. So basically, what is going into this graphic organizer? You can see. I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to have to zoom in to show you. But here, what we're doing in this graphic organizer is we're going to be writing down the definition, and we're going to be writing down some of the examples. So here I see the definition for persuade is the author wants you to do, buy, or believe something. So here in my graphic organizer, I open up this flap. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it easier. Okay. You can see, and I'll turn my notebook, I've gone ahead and I write that definition down. The author wants you to do, buy, or believe something. So I've written that definition down. And then below it, I've included a couple of the examples. Ads, letters, and campaign speeches. Now, I didn't include them all, but I included some of them. So right now, go ahead, make sure that you write down the definition for persuade right here on the inside flap. When you're done with this one, I'm going to close the flap. All right, once I've written the definition for persuade, and I'm going to go on to my next one. The next author's purpose is inform. The author wants to give you information. So now I'm going to go up to my graphic organizer. I'm going to open up this flap, and I'm going to write that definition down. The author wants to give you information. So I'm writing that definition down. And I'm also, once again, writing down several of the examples. Textbooks, nonfiction books, newspapers, and biographies. And I'm going to continue in this matter until this entire graphic organizer has all of the definitions and examples written in it. So I'm going to close that flap. The next one says entertain. It's green. Okay, so now in my graphic organizer, I'm going to write the definition. The author wants to amuse you or for you to enjoy the writing. So here, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to actually have to turn the notebook, and I'm going to write that definition down. The author wants to amuse you or for you to enjoy the writing. I've written the definition, and then I also write some of the examples down here in the graphic organizer. Again, I know I'm going fast. I'm going too fast for you guys to actually write this. So make sure that you just pause me, write down your definition, and then you guys can unpause me. Once I've written that one, I'm going to finish up. I have my last two to do. So I have explain. So here's the definition I need to write. The author wants to tell you how to do something or how something works. So I'm going to go up to my graphic organizer. Here is explain. I'm going to open up that flap, and I'm going to turn my notebook completely around, and I have to write that definition down. You'll see that it's written there. And then I have also written some of my examples. Close that flap, and I'm ready to do my last one, which is describe. Here's the definition. The author wants you to visualize or experience a person, place, or thing. So I'm going to go to my graphic organizer. I'm going to write that definition down. The author wants you to visualize or experience something. And I'm going to write down a couple of the examples. When I'm done with my entire page, about as far out as I can zoom, it's going to look like this. You can see the top is there, and there is the bottom. And on the inside of this graphic organizer, I have all of the definitions and all of the examples written down. So it ultimately ends up looking like this. I can close that up. Boom. And now this notebook page is done, and I'm ready to take my pictures and my photos to upload them. Okay, you guys are not new to this. You guys know how to do that. I just want to remind you here, you're going to look for notebook page 31, author's purpose. Open it up, and you'll see that there are 2 pages. You guys should upload 2 pictures. And you guys have to make sure that I can see your date and your title and your page number on the top, and then I can see the bottom. You also need to make sure that I can see your graphic organizer. I want to be able to see this page looking like this, but then I also want to be able to see that you've written on the inside. And that's going to require you guys to take 2 pictures and upload both of those pictures. The goal of today is just to introduce you to the 5 different authors' purposes. Okay, remember, P-I-E-E-D. Okay, P-I-E-E-D. Persuade, inform, entertain, explain, and describe. Okay, so that is the goal. At the end of today's lesson, you should be able to just name these 5 different authors' purposes. Okay, I don't expect you to memorize the definitions yet. All right, hopefully by the end of the week, you'll really have those down. All right. Tomorrow, actually not tomorrow because tomorrow is Wednesday, on Thursday, we are going to be using this notebook page, and you guys are actually going to be doing some practice where you're going to be reading some passages, and we're going to try to determine if we can't figure out what is the author's purpose for writing that passage. So I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye.